She's one of the most powerful figures in US politics, a woman who spent decades shaping the laws that govern this country. But what if I told you there's more to Nancy Pelosi than just her political clout? What if there's a twist in her story that most don't see? Stay tuned, because today we're diving into the mystery of how Pelosi went from political powerhouse to a financial titan. And trust me, this is a story you won't want to miss. Nancy Pelosi, the first woman Speaker of the US House of Representatives. She spent years leading Congress, passing landmark legislation and navigating the rough waters of American politics. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite earning a modest congressional salary, Pelosi has amassed a fortune. And we're talking not just any fortune, but a net worth above $250 million. An incredible amount for someone in public services. Her financial disclosures show an impressive portfolio packed with high-value tech stocks, real estate, and other lucrative investments. The numbers don't lie. Her wealth has skyrocketed over her decades in office. But the big question remains, how did she do it? How did Nancy Pelosi grow so rich while working for the American public? A lot of people have asked, was this just shrewd investing? Or did her position in Congress give her some sort of inside edge? Was she privy to information that could influence stock prices, making her trades a little too successful? Pelosi's stock market moves have sparked something of a meme in the finance world. Reddit traders, TikTok investors, and everyday people on the internet are all wondering, does Pelosi have an edge on Wall Street?
Oh man, Nancy Pelosi's back at it again. You know what they say, you want to see how to be successful in trading stocks? Just watch what Nancy Pelosi is doing.
She literally locked in a 20% gain for me because it sold when she sold.
Every move she makes gets scrutinized, and people are asking, is there more to these trades than meets the eye? In fact, Google searches for Pelosi's stock trades hit record highs. It's like people are trying to crack the code to her success. Is it a coincidence that her investments seem to align with the political decisions she's making? Or is there something more behind these trades? But this isn't just about one person's fortune. This is about the heart of American politics, the blurred line between money, power, and influence. In today's documentary, we're not just looking at Pelosi's financial success. We're diving into the controversies surrounding her stock trades and the debate over whether politicians should have the same access to the stock market as the rest of us. Can they really separate their influence from their investments? So is Pelosi's wealth just the result of smart decisions? Or is there something more questionable going on here? Stay with us as we follow the money, explore the ethics, and uncover the mystery behind one of the most powerful women in politics today. Hit that subscribe button and let's get to the bottom of this fascinating story. You won't want to miss what we uncover next. From political dynasty to the highest office in Congress, Nancy Pelosi's journey to power didn't happen overnight. In fact, her path to becoming one of the most influential women in US politics started long before Silicon Valley's stock tickers began buzzing. Born in Baltimore 1940, Nancy Patricia D. Alessandro came from a political family. Her father was a New Deal congressman and mayor. So it's safe to say she wasn't exactly raised in an average home. Power brokering was in her DNA. Pelosi learned the ropes of politics early, and this would set the stage for a meteoric rise. But little did we know, this young political prodigy would eventually break barriers in a way no one had ever imagined. Fast forward to the 1960s, where Pelosi moved west to San Francisco, where she would soon make a name for herself. She wasn't just another politician's daughter. Pelosi quickly became a skilled organizer and fundraiser. She became known for her ability to rally support, build alliances, and secure donations. But in 1987 was the year everything changed for Pelosi.
the Honorable Nancy Pelosi would raise her right hand. Do you solemnly swear that...
A special election saw her take her first steps into Congress, marking the beginning of a legendary career. Pelosi wasted no time climbing through the ranks of the Democratic Party. By 2002, she was named House Minority Leader.
Thank you all very much.
Quickly earning a reputation as a formidable strategist. But the real history-making moment came in 2007 when Pelosi broke a marble ceiling, becoming the first woman Speaker of the House. And just like that, she was now the highest-ranking and most influential woman in the US congressional history at that time.
It's now my privilege to present the gavel of the United States House of Representatives to the first woman Speaker in our history, the gentlelady from California, Nancy Pelosi.
As Speaker, Pelosi wielded incredible power, shaping some of the most critical policies in US history. She wasn't just a figurehead. No, Pelosi was in charge. Healthcare, economic relief, and the financial reform were all under her watch.
I have the high privilege, as the first president, to begin the State of the Union message with these words. Madam Speaker.
She helped pass the landmark Affordable Care Act, orchestrated economic relief bills, and steered the country through the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. Under Pelosi's leadership, America saw sweeping changes. She didn't just manage legislation, she pushed the boundaries of what Congress could achieve. Her fingerprints are all over the Affordable Care Act, the 2009 Economic Relief Package, and the Dodd-Frank Act, which overhauled Wall Street in the wake of the 2008 crash.
Well, I'm a master legislator. I think I'm the best person to go forward to unify. I have a strong following in the country. Thank you.
However, as Pelosi's political influence grew, as did something else, her personal wealth. For years, Pelosi was consistently among Congress's wealthiest members, but that wasn't all. Behind the scenes, she was influencing legislation that affected industries from healthcare to tech. And you know who was paying attention to those moves? Executives in Silicon Valley and on Wall Street. From tech stocks to real estate, Pelosi's wealth grew alongside her political power. But that raises some serious questions. Was this just the result of shrewd investing? Or could it be that Pelosi's influence in Congress gave her a secret edge on Wall Street? As we dig deeper into the fascinating journey, we're left to explore one critical question. Did Pelosi's political career allow her to profit off insider knowledge? Or was it a simple case of being in the right place at the right time? In 2004, Nancy Pelosi's net worth was estimated at $74 million. By 2020, that figure skyrocketed to over $115 million. A remarkable $40 million increase over just 16 years, considering the average congressional salary is around $174,000 a year. It's clear that Pelosi's financial growth didn't come from her salary alone. So how did Pelosi manage to build such a fortune while serving in public office? Over the years, Pelosi's financial disclosures reveal a portfolio stacked with blue-chip tech stocks and prime real estate. In 2018, report listed Apple as one of her largest assets, valued at $15 million. That's not just luck, it's a calculated portfolio that's heavily concentrated in the high-growth tech sector. Other major investments include Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Facebook, all companies that had been absolutely on fire in the last 2 decades. These are the kind of investments that help Pelosi's wealth explode, but there's more to the story. Beyond her stock market investments, the Pelosi family have heavily been involved in real estate, a 4-story office building in San Francisco, a vineyard in the Napa Valley. These assets alone could explain a substantial portion of her wealth, but what really stands out is how the wealth was accumulated. It's crucial to note that Nancy Pelosi doesn't directly manage the family investments. That responsibility falls to her husband, Paul Pelosi. A savvy businessman and investor, Paul, who runs financial leasing services, has decades' experience in the finance and venture capital. He's the one behind the wheel of the substantial stock and real estate portfolio. Now, Paul Pelosi has gone on record saying that he's careful not to invest in anything that could conflict with Nancy's position. He made it clear that he avoids any investments that could create a perception of a conflict of interest. But here's where the story takes a twist. Despite the assurances, it's hard to ignore the fact that Nancy Pelosi's political power could have been a real advantage for her family's investments. Pelosi has been in a position to shape policy and legislation directly impacting industries like healthcare, finance, and technology. And as these industries have boomed, so has Pelosi's personal wealth. So the question remains, was her rise to wealth simply a matter of savvy investing? Or did her inside access to Congress give her family an edge over others? Consider this, while Nancy Pelosi was championing bills that impacted healthcare and technology, her family's investments were heavily tied to the very industries that she helped to shape. Here's what we know. Paul Pelosi's investments in companies like Apple, Amazon, and Google have paid off handsomely. But there aren't just random picks. They're massive players in industries Pelosi has the power to influence. So while there's no proof of illegal activity, the connection between Pelosi's policy making and the family's growing wealth raises serious questions. Let's take a closer look at the deals that have everyone talking.
Historically, Congress has had no restrictions when it comes to trading stocks. For most of American history, insider trading laws that affected CEOs didn't apply to members of Congress.
Over the years, Nancy Pelosi's family has been the center of some seriously controversial trades. Moves that have raised questions, sparked outrage, and led many to ask, were these investments just luck, or did Pelosi's position in Congress give her family that insider advantage? Let's kick things off with one of the most talked about trades in Pelosi's financial history, the Visa IPO in 2008. It's a story that raised eyebrows across Wall Street, and for good reason. In March 2008, while Pelosi was House Speaker, her husband, Paul Pelosi, bought a hefty stake in Visa during its initial public offering. We're talking $1 to $5 million worth of Visa stock at $44 per share. But here's where things get really suspicious. Within months, Visa's stock price doubled, jumping to around $88 per share. Now, right around the same time, a bill that could have hurt credit card companies, the Credit Card Fair Fee Act, was under consideration in the House. This bill would have directly affected Visa's share price. But here's the kicker. The bill never made it to a full vote. Coincidence, or did Pelosi's position in Congress give her family special access to profit from an exclusive IPO, while legislation in the House was under consideration?
I wanted to ask you why you and your husband, back in March of 2008, accepted and participated in a very large IPO deal from Visa. At a time there was major legislation affecting the credit card companies making its way through the House. And did you consider that to be a conflict of interest?
I don't know what your point is of your question. Is there some point that you want to make with that?
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, do you think it's all right for a speaker to accept a very preferential, favorable stock deal?
Well, we did.
And you participated in the IPO.
Well, I have many
and at the time you were
investments,
Speaker of the House. You don't think it was a conflict of interest, or have the appearance of a conflict of interest?
It only has appearance if you decide that you're going to have elaborate on a false premise. But it's not true, and that's that.
I don't understand what part's not true.
Yes, sir. That I would act upon an investment.
Crazy Nancy Pelosi, she's crazy as a bedbug. Oh, by the way, Visa, right? Did you see? Visa, she owned a lot of Visa. And the Justice Department brought suit against Visa, a vicious, big, a terrible suit. And she sold all of her stock the day before the suit was brought. She owned it for years. and she knew that, and she actually admitted it on her daughter's documentary. She's a documentarian. I don't think Nancy's too happy about that. She said it was her fault, it was her total responsibility. I couldn't believe the daughter released the tapes, but they weren't really released, they were gotten somehow. Somebody gave them.
Pelosi has always denied any wrongdoing, but the 60-minute report on this trade plants a seed of public distrust. Fast forward to December 2020, and we've got another controversial trade: Tesla call options. A call option allows you to buy stock at a set price, and Paul Pelosi purchased 25 call options for Tesla stock, worth between $500K to $1 million, just weeks before the Biden administration took office. With electric vehicles as a key part of his platform, in January 21, President Biden even announced plans to replace the federal fleet with electrical vehicles. Now, we know Biden's EV plans were already public, so Pelosi's purchase wasn't exactly insider information, but the timing was incredibly convenient. Tesla's stock jumped significantly, going from around $650 a share in December to nearly $900 in early 2021. Was Pelosi's family just betting on an already public trend, or did they have a sense of where the market was heading before the rest of the world did? Now let's talk about 2021, and a trade that raised even more questions: big tech stocks, as the House committee worked on an antitrust legislation targeting big tech. Paul Pelosi exercised call options to buy 4,000 shares of Alphabet's Google parent at $1,200 each, just 1 week before the committee voted on the bills. The stock price jumped and Paul made an instant profit of $4.8 million. At the same time, he also bought options on Amazon and Apple. Now, the bills didn't ultimately pass, but the optics were bad. The speaker's spouse profiting from stocks under congressional scrutiny. The market barely reacted to the vote, but Paul Pelosi's profits soared. Pelosi's office quickly responded, saying she had no prior knowledge of her husband's trades and that she owns no stock herself. But did this just look like a lucky bet, or was Paul Pelosi reading the tea leaves on what would or wouldn't happen in Congress? Was this insider trading? Next up, let's talk Nvidia. In 2022, Paul Pelosi exercised options to buy 20,000 shares on Nvidia, just as Congress was wrapping up the CHIPS Act, which promised $52 billion in subsidies for the US semiconductor industry. Paul Pelosi bought these shares before the bill passed, and then sold them for about $4.1 million just days before the House voted on the semiconductor subsidies. While it's true he incurred a small loss on the transaction, he still managed to avoid a big loss when Nvidia's stock fell due to US-China chip tensions. Critics quickly called this a classic case of damage control, selling before the vote to avoid controversy. But was this just a case of strategic investing, or did Paul Pelosi have insider information on what was about to happen in Congress? Once again, Pelosi's spokesperson defended the trade, stating there was no insider trading, but the optics continued to fuel public suspicion. These trades have been the subject of heated debate, with accusations of insider trading or unethical conduct swirling around the Pelosis.
If we don't let athletes bet on games they have the ability to influence, why do we let Congress invest in companies they regulate?
But remember, insider trading is illegal. Proving it, that's another story. In 2021, when asked about banning stock trading by members of Congress, Pelosi defended the practice, saying,
Because this is a free market and people, we are a free market economy, they should be able to participate in that.
The backlash was swift, with critics accusing Pelosi of being tone deaf to the concerns surrounding conflicts of interest. The debate about Congress members trading stocks reached new heights, and for Pelosi, the public scrutiny only intensified.
We have to be able to assure the American people that they don't have to worry about if they're competing with their member of Congress's stock portfolio in order to be heard.
Ultimately, the question remains, can Pelosi's family investments simply be chalked up to be savvy investing, or does her position in Congress provide them with an unfair advantage? As we've seen, the optics alone are enough to keep the public questioning the system. In a world where the line between politics and profits are increasingly blurred, the calls for reform continue to grow. But the real question is, what's the solution? How do we ensure the public's officials aren't using their power to enrich themselves at the expense of the public trust? Let's break down the legislative battle that's been sparked by Pelosi's trades and the push for reform that followed. The controversy surrounding congressional stock trading isn't new. In fact, it's been a topic of debate for years, but it was Nancy Pelosi's trades and other powerful lawmakers that injected the urgency into the discussion. The turning point came in 2012 after several insider trading exposes, including a damning 60-minute report on Pelosi's Visa IPO trades. Congress responded with the Stock Act, a law designed to prevent members of Congress from profiting off non-public information. The Stock Act was hailed a step towards accountability. It explicitly banned insider trading and required lawmakers to disclose their stock transactions in a timely manner. But there's a catch. The law largely relies on self-reporting, and enforcement, well, it's been pretty weak. In fact, an investigation revealed that 57 lawmakers and 182 senior staffers had failed to disclose their trades on time, breaching the Stock Act's rules with minimal consequences.
You can make tens of millions of dollars with privileged information. And what's the penalty for failing to report these purchases? It's a joke. It's as low as $200.
Despite the law being on the books, many in Congress and the public feel it hasn't done enough to stop potential abuse. Public opinion shifted and the pressure for tougher rules keep building.
But I'm actually for banning stock trading.
Members of Congress should not be selling individual stocks. Put it in a blind trust, trade in mutual fund.
Then, as Pelosi's stock trading controversy gained notoriety in 2021 and 2022, the calls for change gained an even more momentum. Lawmakers across the political spectrum, from the progressive left to the populist right, found common ground on one issue. Members of Congress shouldn't be profiting from insider knowledge. And this wasn't just a political talking point, it's becoming a movement. In early 2022, Senators Jon Ossoff and Mark Kelly proposed a ban on congressional stock trading, requiring members to place their assets in a blind trust or divest entirely.
Senator Kelly and I, nearly 2 years ago, introduced the Ban Congressional Stock Trading Act. That's why I've been honored to participate in this painstaking bipartisan negotiation under your leadership, Mr. Chairman, to get to a bipartisan framework to ban stock trading by members of Congress.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives, like Abigail Spanberger and Chip Roy, co-sponsored the Trust in Congress Act, another bill designed to eliminate conflicts of interest by banning stock trading altogether. These bipartisan efforts signaled a growing consensus that Congress needed stronger safeguards. As one senator put it, the American people should never have to guess whether an official is advancing an issue based on what's good for the country or what's good for their own financial interest. As public pressures mounted, fueled by viral social media posts tracking her trades and media headlines, Pelosi began to shift her position. By early 2022, she softened her stance, saying she would be open to a vote on a stock trading ban. She even tasked a group of colleagues to study the issue and draw new legislation. Despite the draft bill, disagreements on the details led to proposals fizzling out before the 22 midterm elections. Critics like the Republican Spanberger accused congressional leaders of dragging their feet, ensuring that real change would be postponed. In 2023, the controversy surrounding Pelosi's trades led to more legislative action. Enter Senator Josh Hawley with his Pelosi Act, the Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments Act. His cheeky move was a direct jab at Pelosi, with the message, members of Congress shouldn't be using their position to get rich on the stock market.
If you come into Congress, my view is you should have to sell the stock and either put it into broad-based mutual funds, like most Americans invest in, or in a completely blind trust you have no control over whatsoever.
While the Pelosi Act may have been a political stunt, it captured a broad consensus lawmakers from both sides, including figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and conservative Republicans. They have voiced support for stricter limits on congressional stock trading, and even President Biden signaled he would sign a ban into law if Congress agrees. Pelosi, for her part, has said she will abide by whatever rules Congress adopts, while emphasizing that transparency is key. Every trade by her family has been disclosed, she argues, and no evidence has surfaced that any rules were broken. For many, the fact that Pelosi's family has profited so handsomely, building up a net worth of over $250 million while being in power, raises serious questions about the ethics in politics. When lawmakers have the ability to profit from the politics that they create, does it undermine the system? Does it create an unlevel playing field where those in power can use their inside access to make millions, while the rest of us are left to play by the rules? If you've enjoyed this story about Nancy Pelosi, then be sure to check out the Essex Boys of how they made over $700 million in a day by trading oil. It's a story that you don't want to miss. Click here to watch it now.